Welcome back to another episode of the Dat Fitness Business Podcast. Today we're talking about how to use email for a fitness business. Hello, Dan. How are you?
Hello, Tom. Very well. Very good.
Excellent. How's your week been?
So far, so good.
Oh, yeah, because it's Monday, so nothing bad's happened yet.
11 o'clock on a Monday. Nothing bad's happened yet. Although I'm quite enjoying my new Mondays like setup, which is we have the coaching call before this and then this. So it's kind of like it's nice way to break in the week. Really enjoying it. Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, sets the week up right.
Yeah. It's good.
Cool. So today's podcast, the reason why we're talking about email marketing is that we had a little discussion the other day, and for some reason there is a movement by gurus, coaches, whatever else, to say that you don't need email marketing and you shouldn't be doing email for your fitness business. And this confused Dan and me incredibly because we both use email to great effect. And so we thought we'd just talk about it and hopefully give you an idea about why you should use email and definitely why you should and not be avoiding using it. Dan, over to you. Email marketing, should you be using it?
Yes.
Yes, that's the end of the podcast. Yes.
Podcast. Yeah, I mean, I'll go through I'll just talk about my thoughts on that in a moment, but from an email marketing point of view, I think when I first got into coaching and someone mentioned around using emails as a way to market, I'll be honest, I kind of gave it some attention. Then I was like, oh, I don't really know if this is what I want to do, and didn't really go all in on it because it's different, right? It's different to social media.
Yeah.
It's instant gratification. You don't suddenly see response as soon as you post something.
No one likes your emails, do they?
You don't get that. So it was really a weird thing for me to kind of buy into straight away, which I think happens a lot with coaches because you don't see that and you're so used to social media. So then I did it for a while, and then all of a sudden I went, Joe, what, sod this, I'm going to just do this. And I emailed daily for probably the best part of 18 months. I would email daily. I just thought, if you're going to do, and I've got that, that's how I work sometimes. If I'm going to do something, I'll just go right all in on it and just test it. And that was able to really give me an insight into email and also the responsiveness of it and how it works, and also to build up that list. It was actually quite an insight into how it all works. So I do feel that it's important to probably get that across initially. Like, you might have this little bit of resistance towards it because of that feedback that you're not getting instantly, but definitely worthwhile for the longevity of a business to have something like that, like a tangible asset, because it is an asset, isn't it, for the business? It's yours, you own it. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think there's potentially, I think we talked about it before we started recording. There's three elements, I think. First is, why should you have an email list? Second is, okay, you got an email list, how to build it. And then the third is then how to service that email list and how to put it to good use. So, I mean, from my perspective, I've done emails since I started online coaching, I think. And my first ones were rubbish. Like complete dog shit emails, all over the place, long sentences, it's just not a joy to read. But I think I did Mike Samuel's course, actually, the copywriter Mike Samuels, who's worth a follow on Instagram if you don't follow him already. He's a coffee shop copywriter. And I did his course, it was called The Business of Words. And this was this must have been over 6 years ago. And it was to learn copywriting because my emails were just completely sucked. And I must say that learning copywriting is such an essential skill it doesn't just for emails, but for like your social media, for when you communicate with people generally. What about you? I know we've talked about copywriting before. How about you with the copywriting?
Yeah, I agree. It's like that skill that no one tells you that. The same as a lot of things when you get into it, you don't realize. But copywriting was one of those things that I picked up quite quickly, that the importance of it, and almost having to unlearn everything that I thought I knew about writing. Where you're writing, right, I'm going to write an email, and you're like, right, today I went to do this, and it's like a big story and there's a big paragraph like that.
Yeah.
And then you go, right, next paragraph, and then another big paragraph. And it's only breaking that down and following people like Mike and doing some of the courses. I think I've done Mike's Freedom Kickstarter as well. That side of things was really great from okay, this is how it works. This is how to write effective copy, but these are the principles behind it as well, which are important, because if you can understand the principles, you can apply that to like anything, like you said, you can apply it to social media captions. I'm applying it to scripts for video now. Like all those things work because it's just taking the principle and doing it a different way. So, yeah, I agree. Copywriting. Yeah.
Yeah. I think and it's one thing, you know, I don't see enough people talking about it in terms of why it's such an effective tool. Because I mean, I know you've probably seen the situation with people you coach, but there are some great coaches out there and they just cannot articulate their skill into words. And so they just get left behind by the people who can do that and potentially aren't as good a coach, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
Because those people have learned those skills in terms of how to talk and relate to their customers better.
Yeah. And it is simplifying it down, isn't it? It's making it as clear and simple as you can to get your point across. And I think sometimes that is the trap that coaches fall into, that they know everything and they're really, really good at what they do from a coaching perspective, but they then want to communicate that and they'll use the language that they know, which isn't the language that their potential clients are speaking. So then they lose that connection and it just doesn't resonate. And so that way you can kind of put a lot of people off, and you might think, oh, well, this isn't working, but you always have to simplify everything down, strip it right back, get the reading age. I can't remember it was like grade 8, which is American. I don't know what that is in UK, probably like,
I don't know, secondary school, first year secondary school, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. 7, 8 year olds. That's the kind of level that we're trying to pitch at in terms of communication, which might sound crazy, but that's where most people are at.
Yeah, and obviously that as well is that people when they're on social media or reading an email, you don't want to be having to work hard at reading stuff. And you know, I see some social media posts from people who are, you know, who I respect quite well, and it's just like all text.
Yeah.
And immediately I'm like, oh, do you know what? I'm pretty sure that's going to be really good, but I just don't know if I can spend the time to read all that. And then the other side of it is because you're going through, like, there's no breaks in the sentences. It's all just one long sentence. If you lose your place, it's like, oh no, where did I get to? Let's start again.
That's it. I've got some pet hates on this, which I think we should bring up.
Yeah.
Just so if people watch this back, they can go, oh, I'll do that.
Or not do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I'll make the changes. But so make, like you just said, make it easy for someone to read. So think about what looks attractive and what looks inviting to read. And if you've got a piece of text and you just put it all in the middle and you middle align it, you might think that's the, you know, because it's balanced in the middle. It's the most horrendous thing to read. Just put it over to the left.
Yeah, you mean emails where it's all centered? It's the worst thing to read, isn't it? It's just,
yeah, it hurts.
Doesn't follow.
My brain hurts, and then I'm like, I'm not reading it. It looks ugly as well. I'm like, just put it to the left, and I can read it then and follow along. And that goes for social media posts as well. I mean, okay, not everything needs to be left aligned, but I'm going to go out there and say most things need to be left aligned because it's the same thing. It's easy to read that way. So something to take on. And also, like you said, chunking like your sentences and splitting them up so that there's breaks and natural flow to how someone reads your email, for example. There wants to be a flow to it. And what I mean by this is if you can do that and then go back and read through your piece of copy and read it aloud and then notice the flow between the chunks, because you might have like 2 lines, you might have then 3 or 4 lines, then you might have 2 lines, and it should flow really well, the same way as what someone might do when they speak, and then they pause and then they go into the next thing. So it's almost like mimicking that. That's another pet hate. yeah,
but it's all just like one long thing with no headers or anything else. Okay, so we jumped ahead of it then.
Sorry.
So firstly, why is email important? And I know we just released, at the time of filming this podcast now, we've released the group coaching and we talked about email marketing there. and how we used it in our group marketing in order to, when we're launching a group course, we say, hey, we've got this group course. Would you like some more information? Just say yes, and we'll add, and fill in this form or whatever, and we'll add you to our email list so we can give you some more information. Now, the importance of why we do that is to get people away from social media, which is not our property, and onto our email list, which is our property. And I know you've got some thoughts about this, because what happens potentially if all your stuff's on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, what happens then?
What happens if they just shut it down?
Yeah.
And then that's not a nice place to be.
No.
I don't think I've had my account shut. I think it got shut down for like a day. And I did. It was weird because I went through that, oh shit, what do I do? My account's gone. And then there was this weird sense of peacefulness and serenity because I was like, got nothing. It was really nice. But not from a business point of view. But
no.
We've had coaches who have lost their accounts and had them shut down permanently. So like with that in mind, build your email list, because that's your list of data. It's actually really important data, and you own that. And like I said, it becomes an asset for the business. So yeah, that's probably like the biggest reason I think to have one, because you own it.
Yeah, same as like having a website. Not that you need a website, but if you have somewhere you can direct people to find out more about you, it's really important. So that if your email does, because obviously people talk about their Instagram getting hacked, their Facebook getting shut down or whatever, all these things are possible. And of course it's possible for someone to hack your website, but your email list, a little bit more difficult to do that. The other side of this is that if someone is on your email list, provided it's not some spammy way that you've got it by like trawling Facebook groups or something like that, if they're on your email list, they've made a positive statement that they want to be on your email list. Like they've downloaded your lead magnet, your free thing, they've done one of your free challenges, they might have bought a product from you in the past, that sort of thing. So they've already made a statement to you, a very small one, that they're interested in what you do and how you work. That for me is more valuable than a certain amount of followers on Instagram, because we all know that Instagram doesn't get shown, your stuff doesn't get shown to all your followers at once.
Yeah, big reason for that. I was going to go into, like, so if you look at some of that data, it's 1 to 3% of your following. Like sees any of the posts. So if we work it out off, I don't know, I mean, followers, about 6,500 followers at the moment on Instagram. So quick maths, 65 followers for 1%, potentially, or times it by 3. So what's that, close to 200? That's who's potentially going to see any of the posts that I might put out there. But then, it's a frequency thing, isn't it? So you're putting it out there. You don't know if the right person, the right time. Whereas an email, I know that we've got, say, 1,500 email subscribers and a 50% average open rate, which is freaking mega. So I know that instantly there's 750 people seeing my emails, and then we can track other data on it as well. But just by giving that example, it's like, okay, cool, makes sense.
No brainer, isn't it? And that's a really important thing that people don't get, because when people talk about, I got this many likes on a post or whatever else, I'm sure, I put posts up about my like previous bodybuilding photos, which is me in my pants on stage, like 200 likes. Okay, but that's not selling any products for me, is it? That's not potentially going to give me any money in my pocket. It's nice, but it's not going to improve my bank balance. Whereas an open rate on an email, if people are actively opening your email, okay, they might not read it. Let's be simply cynical. But if they're opening it, they're probably going to read some of it. And if you've got that high open rate, like you said, if you've got 700 people who have actively made a thing to say, oh, it's Tom or Dan's email, let's open it and have a look at it, then they're definitely more interested than someone who just scrolled, seen a picture in your pants and go, oh, I like that, and then on to the next one. It's a more positive action. And I think that's what people do, that they sort of miss a little bit, is that if people are taking that positive action to engage with you, not liking or anything, but opening your emails, that's, for me, is a more positive signal that they are a potential customer than just liking one of my posts.
Yeah, it's a bigger commitment, isn't it? Because they've given you, one, their data. An email is quite a personal piece of information. To get that is that's another thing I was going to say before, was that you should really value that. If someone's going to give you like an email address to use as a contact, that's a really valuable piece of information. So yeah, look after it. And but yeah, I get that as well. So if people are liking your posts, it's not really a metric that I would be worried about. I definitely don't look at it. Do you know what? I've not had likes on my Instagram for the best part of 2 years. I turned them off. I turned them off when they said you could turn off likes, not knowing that you can't turn them back on. So I've not been able to turn them back on. So I've not had it for however long, at least almost 2 years. Genuinely, it's infinitely made my life better, because I don't see anything like that. I don't see likes.
Can you still see who's liked the stuff if they do like it?
I can still go into the insights and I can look at the data, but from an actual, if I open up my phone and go on Instagram, I literally see no likes. I see like people's names, if I follow them, will be on the post, but it doesn't show me a number.
So it just says like Tom liked your post and others. Yeah. And do you know, that's quite an interesting thing. I've sort of toyed with that idea myself, because it's like I said, like likes don't mean anything. Come back to that the other day, right? I posted a mini book and it had less likes than saves. Like, so people looked at it and go, oh, that's interesting, I'll save that. And they didn't like the post. I was like, okay, that says a lot.
That's the thing. There's, like you said earlier, I've seen some weird stuff happen. Like we posted like a picture of me and Ashley or whatever, and then like random, it's being saved. I'm like, who's fuck's saving that? That's a weird thing to go and say.
Someone's saving your stuff, they're going to assume your identity.
Oh yeah, really weird. But yeah, I can look at all the insights, but I just turn the likes off, not knowing you can turn them back on, because then I went to go and turn them back on. They were like, nope, you can't do it. So I don't know if you can do it now, but I haven't bothered.
Yeah, interesting. So in terms of why is an email list important? Because the people on your email list are, I would say, more engaged with your stuff than people who are just on your Facebook.
Yeah, and I going back to what you said earlier about owning it. When we were at our last live event, I talked about this at Lords, and I gave the analogy of being like in Lords cricket ground, and then you're building your house like on the middle of the cricket pitch, and technically like you're renting that space, aren't you, from Lords? So that's not actually you don't own it. Whereas if you were to then go and build your house like just outside the ground on one of the roads around St John's Wood, then that's your space then, and you own that place rather than paying rent to Lords or Facebook.
And the other thing is, obviously, think about like things like Facebook ads and stuff like that. You obviously, with Facebook ads, you can target people who like your posts and engage with your posts, but you can also export your email list and create a custom audience in Facebook, and those are people who are more interested in your stuff. And that is another consideration. So if you've got a decent sized email list with people who are actively opening your emails and got a decent open rate, if you put it into a Facebook ads, and you can potentially create a custom audience for sort of lookalike for that, you're potentially getting more people then who are interested in your stuff, or more interested in your stuff than someone who's just liked your stuff. Yeah,
you're using your data then more effectively.
Yeah,
to build either an engaged audience or something that potentially might be similar using the lookalikes. Yeah, that's a really cool feature.
Okay, so second part we were going to talk about is how to build your email list, and we were having a bit of a chat beforehand about this as well. So obviously we talked about, I think our first podcast was lead magnets, wasn't it? How to create a lead magnet to get people into your business. So maybe if you haven't watched that that podcast, go back and watch that. But let's talk about that. So how do we get people onto our email list?
Lead magnets, like we spoke about. So creating those, something that your audience ideally is going to want to consume or be a part of. One of the easiest ways and best ways that we've found, depending again on the coach and the business model, but is creating like workshops or mini challenges or experiences where people can, a larger group of people can be involved to go through a an experience where there's a lot of actionable tips, values, things like that in it, which not only gets people to know who you are, it also crosses a lot of those boxes for like say if you were trying to meet that criteria for 7-11-4, you're kicking off quite a lot of stuff in that small period potentially. And then by doing it, you can generate quite a lot of extra people into your email list in a short space of time. And okay, some are going to convert off the back of whatever that thing is you've done. But then if you brought 300 people, say, into your email list, that's 300 extra contacts to then nurture over that period of time. And that's by far one of the best ways we've been seeing it recently, is from a lead generation point of view. In terms of doing it quite quick, you could get, I mean, one of the girls had the leads for 29 pence when we set up the ads for it, which was incredible. Like, you couldn't build a list probably cheaper than that if you were doing other ways. So yeah, there's a lot of factors come into that, but that was probably one of the best ways I've seen at the moment for building a list fairly quick. Anyway,
yeah. So you got lead magnets, you've got free challenges, which, have we talked about that before? I'm not sure. Maybe we'll do a podcast on free challenges if you haven't done it already. So free challenges. What also sort of related to lead magnets is trials. So like I have for Build Body, I have the vitamin T workouts, which are basically just I think 8 or 9 trial workouts for my coaching program. So that's sort of a lead magnet. It's sort of a challenge. It's sort of a blend of both, but it's a free trial of how I coach, which is also a good way of saying to people, well, if you're interested in coaching with me, here's some of the workouts. If you like them, you'll probably like working with me. If you don't, then it's a good idea that you don't ask to work with me, because these are the workouts.
Yeah. So
having a free trial in some way of your of your business is potentially good, like a challenge as well as a free trial, isn't it?
Yeah. Challenge, webinars, trainings, workshops, anything like that you can create something that people, your audience, potentially are going to want. And I'd always base it off, like we've done before, like that's the problems. So you find out all their problems, but then just hone in on one specific problem and try and create something around that. So that side of things. And then just see how you can do that in various different ways. So we had, say there's a PDF download for content creation, content ideas, and then there might be a live training on that basically that PDF, but in a live training for format where you can come and learn how to do it live. And we just break down what's in the PDF. It's the same thing, because then everyone feeds through to the same email system.
Yeah, and then I suppose it's what works for you as well, because some people are very good at doing video, some people are good at writing. It has to be something that that you're good at as a coach. In terms, like, say, don't try and do like a webinar if you really suck at webinars. Write out a PDF guide or something like that. Make sure it gives value to the people.
Yeah, don't just do it because you've seen someone else do it and you think that's a good idea. But at least have an idea of, okay, what do I want to put out there? What do I think would be a really, really good thing for my audience? And then before you do that, make sure you've researched it and you've gone and asked the question, because you don't want to just, I know we talked about this in that previous podcast, but don't go out there and just, I've got this amazing idea, but don't ask anyone about it, because then when you put it out there, they'll go, oh, I don't want it. Well, you didn't ask me. That's not something I'm interested in. So yeah. Research.
I suppose if you are doing that 100 problems exercise, then, and you've got a load of different things that your customer has a problem with, as like so there'll be, like, I know you do a scorecard for your for your business coaching. I've got a scorecard for Build Body. There's always going to be 3 to 5 areas where the person has a problem, as in you can take all those problems and separate them out into, say, 3 to 5 areas. And if you know what area, so like, say for example, it might be like eating, like they don't know what to eat right. If you work down from that problem and find, like, okay, if you don't know how to eat properly, and you work down from that, what's one of those areas? And one of them might be, for example, they don't know how to calculate their calories. So then that's one element in that eating ecosystem or eating problem. So if you can say, right, here's how to calculate your calories and macros, it's not going to solve the problem completely, but it's going to help contribute towards that, and then demonstrates the person that you're actually very good at what you're doing, and you can probably help them. So it's that first step, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that first step. Don't try and solve all the problems there, and then just do the first thing, and then build on that, and then hopefully your system behind the scenes can then maybe start to do maybe the next step and the next step until they've gone to a point where like, right, I probably should ask you for some actual help now.
Yeah, and the email system can build those things in, can't they? So if someone does come in for your calorie calculator, for example, you could then have a sequence of follow-up emails to say, here's some ideas on how to allocate your foods throughout the day. Here's some ideas on how to cope when you're out eating out, that sort of thing. Again, not solving the whole problem, but giving more value to that problem, which they can then see, well, it's solving some of my problems, not all of them. And then that leads to hopefully the inquiry.
Yeah, it's that journey, isn't it? So that journey, making sure there's enough time, but also throughout there's those touch points that does those little steps. But then at each point, you can also position offers. You could have little micro offers or softer calls to action in there. So at any one point, someone might go, right, cool, I've had enough now, I'm going to reach out. So, and then we do this we've got our own systems like this, but then we also do this for the coaches as well, is try and create these systems that are specific to their businesses. And if someone goes through that process and they don't take any action, then they're potentially not going to do it anyway.
But and I suppose that the really important point to make here is that you wouldn't be able to do that on social media. You wouldn't be able to say if someone's you wouldn't know if someone's watched your video or read your post or whatever, in order to then tag them to say, oh, here's another post you might like, or here's another post you might like. I mean, the algorithm might potentially pick that up and suggest it to them, but it's not guaranteed. Whereas with an email, you can say, did you like that email? Here's another one that might help you, and it's done in sequence.
Yeah. You could go one step further with email, can't you? And you can really get complex with actions. So if someone does take a specific action, or they come in from a certain lead magnet, then they can go down a certain route. We played around with this, and I remember doing this with one of the coaches I worked with, where depending on the outcome of a score he got, who the person got on a scorecard, would then determine which way they went down the sequence into the funnel. It was quite complex, but that you're tailoring then that person's journey a little bit, which is quite cool.
Yeah, and that's was that with Score App? Yeah. So again, it's another thing that people might not be aware of, the Score App thing, which is it's basically a quiz, isn't it? You can make quizzes, but the data from it, the data that drives the answers, you can really get a good idea about what your client needs. And I think we might have talked about it before, but Score App is definitely worth checking out. I know I've had it for 4 years or so, ever since it was actually when it was just a beta launch product, because the Dent community got access to it first. And it's been really good. And how it's evolved over that time means you can get some really good data and segment that into your emails, so that if someone scores badly on, I don't know how to eat properly, they can then be sequenced into a series of emails helping them to eat better.
Yeah, it's a great tool. I really like Score App. I find myself, I'll go in and I'll just create a random scorecard on something, because I just find it really nice to use as well. It's quite a good platform, really intuitive. Well, yeah, we've pulled loads of data now from especially the business side of things, and it gives you really clear areas that this is where people struggle. So if you ever want to create content on specific things, you can just go, right, I've got the information here, or a product or a service or whatever, you've got all that information. Yeah, great.
Cool. So where are we up to? We did why you need an email list. We've done how to get people onto your email list, and then servicing the email list. Sort of touched on that already. I think one thing to mention here is that email lists can turn into a vanity metric, as in I've got 5,000 people on my email list, for example. You've really got to look at the stats for your emails and this is an important thing I don't think that people do get when they say about how many email subscribers they've got. So you would talk about open rates before. What's your open rate? 2%. Okay, that's what, 10 people opening your, or whatever it is, opening your emails. Has to, the emails you write have to be something that your customer's interested in. Otherwise, you're just paying for all these people on your email list, which aren't reading your emails.
It's the same. I talked about this on a call last week, because it's the same as, so you've got social media, like followers. So I've got 100,000 followers, but I don't know, they follow you because you used to get your kit off, and now you're like doing something completely different. So they're not really interested in you because they're not following you for that reason. But if you've got a list of 10,000 people on an email list, and people used to say like the money's in the list, right? The money's like that saying, but it's not. It's in the relationship with that list. Because if you haven't got that, it's the same as like a following. If you haven't got that relationship with your following, it's not going to be effective. So it's the same thing with email. You need to have that.
Yeah, and I think so something which you should do quite regularly with your email list is send out an unsubscribe email. I did this a little while ago. I sent out an email that said you're about to be friend zoned, and in the email I said, look, I just want to make sure that you are enjoying my emails, but if you're not, just please unsubscribe for them, because I don't want to keep sending you stuff. I don't want to be one of those people that slides in your DMs and you go, oh, it's that guy again. So I wrote this email about, look, if you do want to receive my emails, great. If you don't, just please unsubscribe. And you know what? I had a couple of people, well, I think it's just one actually, who got seriously offended by it, email back saying, how dare you use friend zone? That's such a blah, 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 and I was like, have you clicked unsubscribe?
That's it.
Obviously, you're not going to buy from me.
It's easier to just click the unsubscribe button, but no, I'd have to reply to it, and then
I have to reply.
It's like people don't, and maybe this is a thing, people don't know in this day and age you can unsubscribe from these things, because they almost take it as in like, why are you emailing this? I'm like, well, you signed up to the email list, you can unsubscribe. There's a button here, but you'd rather reply to it and get your anger out. Like, that's cool. Yeah, I find that fascinating, people's behavior.
Yeah. So but also, here's the other side of things: is don't make the unsubscribe button really difficult to find, because again, if people are looking for they don't want your emails and they want to unsubscribe, if you make it harder for them to find unsubscribe, again, it's another follower or another email list subscriber that is not going to buy from you, is actively annoyed that you're sending them emails, and they're more likely to report you for spam if they can't unsubscribe. So, I mean, I don't know what yours are like. Mine's right at the bottom, unsubscribe here.
Yeah, we have it at the bottom, and also there's a button at the top now, so people can just.
If you open it on your phone, yeah,
really easy.
Do you know? I don't know if I told you my story about that. About the.
I was going to say, like the one where it's right at the sent from my phone or something.
Yeah. So I subscribed to So I subscribed to this this coach. This is a little while ago when I was looking for a mentor for my business. And I subscribed to a few people just to see what they're like, get a gist of their personality. And just be aware that if someone is on your email list, they're probably just seeing what you're like for a bit before they buy from you, which is really important. So anyway, that's what I was doing. And he sent me these emails out, and I thought, oh, that's pretty spammy or whatever. And then one was sent, and it was like, hey, Tom, I haven't caught up in a while. And I do sort of actually know this guy through, networks of bodybuilding and stuff like that. And so I thought, oh, okay. So I opened it, and it was written like a personal email from a phone. But I knew immediately that it was from an email list, because there was this is from an email list at the top, unsubscribe. But it said we haven't caught up in a while, blah, 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 blah. And then it said, oh, just hit reply if you want to have a chat. And then it said underneath, sent from my iPhone. I was like, you haven't sent that from your iPhone, it's from an email list. So I scrolled down, and I literally had to scroll for about 5 minutes through a load of white. And at the bottom, there was a unsubscribe thing and the guy's address. And I was like, I am going to unsubscribe now, because that is proper deceptive. And he's a guy teaching coaches how to do their business. Now imagine if if he's going to be deceptive in an email, what's his teaching practices going to be like? And that's going to be you in a couple of months' time. You're going to be doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I remember you telling me that, and I've seen it happen.
It's a common thing that happens,
Yeah.
apparently.
I think I've had similar ones, but maybe not had to scroll as long.
It's only 5 minutes.
Jeez. There's a lot of practices like that I think that gets abused with email, things like that nature. And we talked about that before, didn't we? Like, sending the wrong link and stuff. And it's just stuff that's going to annoy people. It's the same with anything like social media. If you don't like receiving cold DMs, why would you then go and practice that kind of approach? Just have that in mind. But talking of that, actually, you got me thinking of some of the subject lines that I've sent over the past a few years that they've been a bit, they could go one way or the other. But luckily the ones I can remember anyway have worked really well. And we remember sending out, I still work with this client now, an email, and the subject line was saying your flight's been cancelled. And then and there's this person used to travel a lot for business and things, and really like freak them out. But you have to go quite quickly then explain that this is an email that is not what you think it is. So yeah, luckily that worked out right. But yeah, just thinking of a few that I've done over the years. That's quite cool.
I've done a few let's say sort of dark humor ones, because for me, I want it with people who are sort of on my wavelength, so it's easier to work with. So my emails are quite sarcastic. There's a bit of like, offbeat humor, that sort of stuff in. And anyway, I sent out a few emails, and then I got a reply back, and it was from my dad, who subscribed to my emails, and he's like, I was like, oh, I didn't know you subscribed to my emails. So every time I send an email out, I'm like, my dad might read this, so let's just make sure it's okay.
No, yeah, that's good.
But he's on the same sense of humor wavelength as me. But yeah, it's still sort of things. I wonder if my dad reads this. I wonder what you think.
Brilliant, that. Love that. It's good.
But the other thing about emails, I know that we might have talked about this before, is that there's a couple of different type of emails you can send. So there's the content email, which is basically reinforcing your content. So for us, it might be stuff about business coaching, might be stuff about physique coaching, might be stuff that's relevant to our business, and what's called nurtures people so that they get more information. And then there's also the action emails, which I think we talked about before, which I think you've referred to as something else, but I call them spear emails.
Yeah.
And it's important to do both types. So the content is great because you're reinforcing your skills and everything else to people. But it's the same thing as like always posting information on Instagram. If you're not asking for a sale or asking for an action, all you become then is sort of a reference point. You don't become someone people think that they can buy from. So it's important to have content emails, but also spear emails. And spear is short, personal, expecting a reply. Other people have other names for it. And those emails are basically the ones where you're asking people for action, such as, would you like to join the webinar? Would you like to join my Facebook group? Hey, I'm opening my program. Would you like the details? That sort of thing. And it's important to get a balance between the content and the action emails. Have you got, I'm presuming you do similar things in your coaching?
Yeah, I think we send out 2 emails each week. One of those emails has always got some form of action on it. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I always have an action on my emails. So even the content ones, they have like you can watch more on this video, or a link here. But the content ones don't normally have like a sale on them. Sometimes they do, but it's more about, if you want more about this, go here.
Yeah.
Then, and I think I'm not sure if it was Mike's course or whatever that said this, but if people are in the habit of clicking on the link of your emails, they're again more likely to click when there's a potential sale option there. which is potentially a psychological thing.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Conditioning them to click links.
Yeah. Oh, just interesting. You said about you you emailed every day for 18 months. And how did you find the response rate for that? Because some people think listening to this might go, emailing every day. I think I get annoyed about that. But there's two arguments here, isn't it? So how did you find it?
Yeah. It was actually all right. Like, because at the time I just started off really like the email list, probably like hit and miss at the start. And then I was like, right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to email every day. And I did use it as a little bit of a way to get people into the email list, because like we talk about getting people in, you can just talk about your email list more. Like, don't forget you can do that. I think people forget that they've got email lists, don't ever tell anyone about it. Like, how can I get on your email list? Cool. Maybe talk about some of the emails that you've got coming up, or why you want to be on the list to get access to this thing, and then tell them how they can get on it, or get their email address and you add them to it, whatever is easiest. So talking about your email list is going to be like a really good point if you want more people on it. And then I just used the fact that I was doing daily emails to say like every single day I'm going to be sending something to you that you can either do, action, take value from, whatever it is. And these emails weren't all like story-based long emails. At the time, I wasn't. No, I mean, I like to think I write a little bit better now. So maybe like joined up now. I don't know.
Now you got ChatGPT. You okay?
Yeah. No, I write like a robot. But back then I was almost like using it as a bit of practice, because I knew that if I was write daily emails, I've got to get better, right? Because you're doing that skill more frequently, and writing's a skill like anything else. Like you're going and lifting weights, I see it as something you have to practice. And then if you don't write, I don't know now, if I don't write copy for a while, I get rusty, and then you have to go back in and write again. So I used it for two things, for that and getting better at it. But in terms of response to it, I can't think back to like in terms of people getting, no one really got annoyed with it. No one, people unsubscribe, but that's people unsubscribe every week from our emails. They don't mind. But then on the most part, I got really good feedback from it. So I think it's a positive thing. I'm not saying people should go out there and start doing it, by the way, but yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah, I think there is two frames of thought there, isn't it? There's first that people might get tired of opening the emails. Yeah, if they're tired of your content, perhaps if they don't like hearing from you, I think there's a couple of email lists I subscribe to, and they send out stuff every day. And after a while, I did unsubscribe, because it was always a sale. Every single email was a sale.
Yeah.
And maybe just me personally, but if every email that's coming through has a sort of a protracted way to lead into a sale at the end, I'm like, I'm not sure how authentic that is. Yeah, people have got to make a sale, they've got to make their business and everything else. But sometimes I just want to have here's some information you might like. Cheers, that's really useful. And a couple of days later, oh, would you like to buy this? Yeah, I might actually. Rather than here's some stuff. Oh, and here's how I can sell you this thing to help with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, that's just the way I think, but maybe a few people think that way as well.
I mean, I was probably the other way. I was probably too much, never talked about selling and how, and I probably changed my mindset on that a bit now. But I'm not, every time is a sales email, but we do have a structure for that now where it's more prevalent. Whereas when I was emailing every day, I probably once a month, maybe might mention something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I certainly have a routine, which is I use that content calendar, and it allows me to map out over 4 weeks where I'm going to like put my spear emails, I'm going to put my sales emails, and then link that into my content as well. It's just something that I found quite useful to, if you've got it all in front of you, say 4 weeks planned in front of you, you're not then going to go, oh, when did I last send that? When did I last ask someone for a sale? Or, or have I asked anyone for a sale for a little while?
Yeah, definitely having that at least a system to it. Really simple. It doesn't have to be complicated.
No, exactly. Okay, anything we've missed, mate? Because we're coming up to the 12 o'clock. We've done why you should need an email list. We've done benefits of it. We've done how to get people into it. We've done servicing the email list. I think might be just
Good
done.
Yeah, covers everything basis wise. Yeah.
So Dan, how can people get onto your email list?
Ooh. How can you get on? Yeah. You can even message me and I'll graciously add you onto the email list. Or if you're a coach and you would like some ideas for content, like 50 ideas plus 4 extra bonuses on calls to action, hooks, how you can actually create this content with a video that's going to talk you through it, then let me know, and then you can get on my email list and you get this as well. So yeah, enjoy.
Wow, nice pitch.
How about yours?
Well, if you want help scheduling your content that you're going to create with Dan's lead magnet, and you would like a free tool to help schedule 4 weeks in advance on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and email, then you can download my content calendar, which is available. You can either DM me or go onto my Instagram and it's right there. Download content calendar. That's how you can get on my email list.
So yeah, go and join both.
Join both and then send us a rating so we can have a war about who does the best emails and the best titles.
Yes. Feedback. Good.
Great. Okay, cool. Right, next week then. So we'll be back next week with another podcast, which we've undecided about the title. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you've listened on the podcast, and please do leave us a like, a comment, a review, that sort of stuff. I mean, yeah, it's vanity metrics, but it also does help to show that we're actually a decent podcast helping you out. Any words of encouragement, Dan? No.
Well, just in general.
Oh yeah, okay. A positive mindset thought for the week.
Affirmation. Tough times don't last. Only tough people last.
Times don't last. What? Do you know what? Just as a aside, the when I listen to the Danny Lennon podcast, and at the end he says, "Oh, is there a piece of advice you can give people to like to improve their life?" And I just want someone to go on there and say, "Tell more people to fuck off."
Yeah.
And if I ever was on the Danny Lennon podcast, that would 100% be my advice, because the more people you say no to, the more opportunities you've got. And don't be nice all the time thinking you have to do stuff for people.
No, and don't take things so seriously. That's my thing. Stop being so freaking, everything's so serious at the moment. Like, and then you're serious when you turn the news on, everything's serious. And then you go into business and it's like, oh, serious, go to war. Ugh. Have you got your battle plan? Like, fuck off. Just enjoy it a little bit more and don't be so serious.
I got a book about that, actually. It's this one. It's How to Give Zero Fucks.
Perfect.
It's hardback, so you can hit people with it if they annoy you. Well worth a read. It's quite enjoyable.
Good.
Okay. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Dan, see you next week and next time.
Wicked. Bye.